Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. 2024 was another great year for rock music. I listened to and reviewed a lot of albums here on the channel, and it's time to round them all up and count them all down with my top 10 favorite rock albums of 2024. So here we go. Just quickly, I want to list my honorable mentions. Foster the People and their new album, Paradise State of Mind. Funky, catchy, really enjoyed that this year. Blossoms, Gary, who knew that a great album could be written about a stolen fiberglass gorilla, but the Blossoms did it on this one. Dangerous Summer and Gravity, great rock album from this year. All amazing albums that didn't quite make the cut for my top 10, but that's okay because there was a lot of great music this year, so let's talk about it. Coming in at number 10 of my top 10 rock albums of 2024, we have Pearl Jam and Dark Matter. So Pearl Jam is one of those bands that I've loved forever. I've followed every single album and every step of their career. They've had a lot of ups and downs musically throughout their career, and it felt like the more recent albums have been downs. But Pearl Jam found their mojo again on Dark Matter, working with producer Andrew Watt, who's had his fingers on every big album over the last little while, and it sounds like he whipped them into shape. And this album has some of their best songs in a very, very long time, including the title track, Dark Matter. There's Running, Won't Tell, Wreckage, Scared of Fear. Pearl Jam brought their A game with the songwriting on Dark Matter. And the album is punchy too. The production sounds great. It's catchy. It's full of attitude. Great lyrics from Eddie Vedder. Pretty much has all the essential ingredients for a great Pearl Jam record. This far into their career, it may not live up to their past glories, but it's still awesome to have Pearl Jam making great music in 2024. Coming in at number 9, we have Black Keys and Ohio Players. Okay, so I kind of lost track of the Black Keys after El Camino. That was my last really favorite record from the Black Keys, and only really checked in periodically over the years, but then I reviewed this album on my channel and I really liked it. It has some of the best Black Keys songs in a very long time. It also doesn't hurt that Noel Gallagher co-wrote some of the songs on this record, which I think are some of the best songs on Ohio Players, On the Game and Only Love Matters. But the album is filled with really great songs. Don't Let Me Go, Beautiful People is a great single, Paper Crown, Live Till I Die. It's got that bluesy, funky rock sound to it, all rolled into one. And the Black Keys were making a little bit of headlines in 2024 as well for their live tour when they canceled their tour, when they were really not being able to sell tickets for some of the venues that they were booked into. They managed to correct that and go back out on tour. They're still a great band, I think, and I think Ohio Players is one of the Black Keys' best. Coming in at number 8 of my top 10 rock albums of 2024, we have Royal Tusk and Altruistic. Royal Tusk is a great Canadian rock band based out of Edmonton, Alberta, who I've listened to for years. I actually used to spin them on my radio show when I was on FM radio here in Hamilton, but I really got into Royal Tusk this year. And aside from this album, Altruistic, their new record, I really got into their debut album, Deal Breaker from 2016, probably one of my favorite records of the year. If it was released in 2024, I would have put it on this list, but it was released in 2016, but still one of my favorite records of the year. And that debut album, Deal Breaker, has more of a 70s kind of classic rock sound to it. This album, Altruistic, is much heavier. It's got that huge rock sound that is radio ready in all the best ways. Yeah, there are some really great songs on here. Hated, Head Up, Relegate, All My Life. These are great, huge, big anthem ready rock songs that are bolstered by the emotional vocals of the lead singer of the band, Daniel Carrier. And I saw Royal Tusk live back in March here in Hamilton at Mills Hardware. It was a great show. They sound just as good live as they do on record. And to me, they're one of those Canadian bands that deserves a lot more attention. Coming in at number 7, we have 311 and Full Bloom. For most of my life, I've only really been a mild 311 fan. I've enjoyed the band over the years, but more just some random tracks from each of their albums over their now 14 studio albums, which is kind of crazy. But then I was invited to review the album on Chill Dude on the Couch, Hector's channel, and we both agreed this was a great summer record that was unfortunately released in October. But really, who could argue with the sound of 311? Who doesn't like 311? They're chill, they're catchy, they're reggae infused, they have lots of great riffs, they have all the elements that I enjoy in a great band. But aside from just the chill vibe that 311 offers, there are a lot of great songs on here as well. You're Gonna Get It has a great riff on it. Need Somebody, Full Bloom, Mountaintop. There's a lot of fun to be had on this record. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna go back and listen to every track on all 14 311 studio records, but I enjoy them when I listen to them. It's good to still have them around with all their original members intact as well. They have all 5 original members still in the band, and that is something that is very rare these days. Coming in at number 6 on my top 10 rock albums of 2024, we have Smashing Pumpkins and Agori Mori May. You know, I will follow Billy Corgan and the Smashing Pumpkins to hell and back, but you know what? Their last record, the trilogy, Autumn, wasn't very good. And the thing about the Smashing Pumpkins is, like, they don't have to rock. They don't have to go back to that classic sound of Siamese Dream and Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. But when they do turn up the amps and play a couple of riffs, it's nice. To me, this is their best record since Oceania. And I have enjoyed a lot of the music that they made since then and in between. And the band doesn't have to cater to the fans, like I was saying, but it's nice when the Pumpkins sound like the Pumpkins. Of course, there's lots of big riffs on here to be had, but also more on the poppy side of the Pumpkins, which I've always enjoyed as well. You have tracks like Eden and Pentagrams and Sugomi, which are those big heavy tracks, but then you have songs like Who Goes There, which is a little bit more on the quiet side, 999. It doesn't really matter what sound they go for. When the songs are this good on a Pumpkins record, that's when I think us fans respond the most. Coming in at number 5 on my top 10 rock albums of 2024, we have The Warning and Keep Me Fed. To me, The Warning is definitely one of the standout rock bands of 2024. I first saw them on music video television here in Canada, on the Stingray channel, I think. Like, how does that happen anymore? Discovering a band by watching a music video on television, that is so 90s, but I really enjoyed that experience when their song More came on the TV, and I was really hooked on the big riffs and the big melodies from The Warning. This trio of Mexican sisters are all amazing at their roles in the band. Danny has an incredible voice, and they all have these really magnetic and exciting personalities on social media. They definitely broke out this year in 2024. I'm excited to see where The Warning go from here. There's lots of great women in rock, of course, but this album to me stood above the rest of the stuff this year. To me, favorite songs on this record were How You Call a Dream, More, Sick, and one of the Spanish language tracks on this record, Que Me Quieres. Coming in at number 4, we have Green Day and Saviors. You know, I will always be a Green Day fan, but even I have to admit their last couple of studio records have been, as the youth call it, mid at best. And I think over the last maybe decade or so, the band kind of lacked the drive they had or inspiration they had on records like American Idiot. But to me, they found it again on Saviors. The band sounds rejuvenated musically and lyrically. Billy Joe, I think, is most motivated lyrically when there's a great political bent to talk about, a great modern bent to talk about. He's a modern songwriter, and he really should have some more fodder, I guess, to talk about on the next Green Day record because of the way things are going to go politically for the next 4 years. But this album also rocks a little bit harder than more recent Green Day. To me, on this record, Saviors, the guitars are louder and they're crunchier. Most people would probably not put a Green Day album on their best of list for this year, but to me, Saviors deserves to be there. It's a great record. Favorite songs on here for me, The American Dream is Killing Me, Corvette Summer, one of my favorite tracks of the year, Coma City, Susie Chapstick, Living in the 20s. There are some legit classic Green Day songs on here, modern classic Green Day songs. Coming in at number 3 on my top 10 rock albums of 2024, we have Liam Gallagher and John Squire. This was an album and a collaboration that Oasis fans and Stone Roses fans and Brit Rock fans in general have wanted to see for a very long time. The meeting of Oasis meets the Stone Roses meets the Beatles. And this was a very welcome surprise when the album was announced right at the beginning of the year. It was produced by Greg Kurstin, who has had his hands all over Liam's solo stuff over the last number of years. He's been a great collaborator for Liam. And of course, John Squire on here, formerly of the Stone Roses and the Seahorses. He wrote every track on this record. He plays guitar on this, along with Liam on vocals. It's not really the best album by either of them by any stretch, but the singles are great. The album tracks may vary in quality a little bit, but it's just, you know what? It's got a cool vibe, man. Liam sounds great. Squire is riffing and soloing all over the place, exactly as advertised. It's cool that we got this and an Oasis reunion in 1 year. It really is an embarrassment of riches. Favorite songs for me on this record, Just Another Rainbow, Mars to Liverpool, Raise Your Hands, I'm a Wheel. Not solid all the way through, but hey, it's Liam Gallagher and John Squire, and it sounds pretty fucking cool. Coming in at number 2, we have Neck Deep and Neck Deep. 2024 was a great year for pop punk. We had a new album from State Champs. We had a new album from Story So Far. Mention that in just a second. A new album from Scooped Up, who was a great indie pop punk band from Connecticut that I talked to earlier this year. And of course, we had a great new album from the UK MGK's Neck Deep. This album came out in January and firmly established itself as one of the best of the year with its sharp as a knife songwriting and incredible performances. It just has a punchiness and a catchiness to it that only Neck Deep can provide. Really solid front to back track listing, a Dumbstruck, Dumbfuck, Sort Yourself Out, This Is All My Fault, Heartbreak of the Century, pretty much a no skip album. And you know what? I take back what I said in my review that I did of this record earlier in the year. Moody Weirdo is a great song and it's one of my favorites on the record. And this was one of the first records that came out in 2024. The year started strong and it ended strong. 2024 was a solid year for rock. And coming in at number 1 on my top 10 rock albums of 2024, we have The Story So Far and I Want to Disappear. This was an album that wasn't really on my radar this year. I knew the band's name over the years, but never really listened. But last year, I really got into lead singer Parker Cannon's other band, No Pressure. I was really into them last year, really been listening to all their stuff. I think he's a great vocalist and a great songwriter. And the chill dude on a couch, Hector, a good friend of the channel, he recommended this album to me. He knows what kind of stuff I liked, and he was right about that one. Although this is a heavy record about the loss of Parker Cannon's father, that said, still an incredibly catchy, well-written and performed record that really is hard to deny. And Parker Cannon, the lead singer of The Story So Far, is a big, massive Oasis fan, so I thought that was a cool connection. Although the sounds are very different of The Story So Far and Oasis, it's still a really cool connection. And I've been noticing that Parker Cannon has been wearing a lot of Liam Gallagher parkas lately. And that is really the fun thing about being a music fan, is that going into the year, there are records that you don't necessarily have on your radar, and then they become your favorite. That's kind of how it went for me last year. The Beartooth record, The Surface, that was not really a record that I was anticipating throughout the year 2023, but then when it came out, it instantly became my favorite record of the year, and that's kind of how it went with this new record from The Story So Far. Big Blind, Jump the Gun, You're Still in My Way, Nothing to Say, White Shores, pretty much a no-skip record from front to back, so that's why I put it in at number 1 on my top 10 rock albums of 2024. And that is it, guys. That is my top 10 list of my favorite top 10 rock albums of 2024. Let me know what your favorites are in the comments below. It's been a great year for rock music, so let's get a conversation going about our favorites. If you like this video, make sure to toss me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. Make sure to smash the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos here on the channel, and make sure to follow me on social media across platforms at Nick Chino Music. But I'll see you guys again next year in 2025 for another great year of rock music. Until then, rock on, everybody.